Hey, this is Cap, and you're watching Thorin, the only man besides Richard Lewis who somehow found a way to get both League of Legends and Dota Redditors to hate him.
I am Esports. No, you aren't. You're Gamer Subs, the delicious sugar-free energy formula that has a lovely plateau, delicious flavours that don't taste all chemically, and it has a nice smooth drop-off, not a hard crash. 10% off with the code Thorin. Should be esports. Another name for esports in the dictionary is Thorin. Thorin, Thorin, at gamersubs.gg. Now, on the 28th of December, 2021, I made what potentially is an infamous, a notorious tweet. I would say a public statement that I am esports. I am esports. Think of it like Sparta in Hood 300, right? So I'll show you the tweet here. I mean, I didn't even just say that. I said this one where I said, tell you what, you do that cute thing where you tell me to get out of the industry I built and still rests on my fucking shoulders. I am esports. Begone, Peon. So I made this tweet, quite a notorious tweet now. By the way, in the description box below, I will say, whether you like me or not, you've got to check out this tweet by a guy called Octopimp, where a guy who actually is like a like a narrator, a voice actor or whatever. I'm not sure if he actually does anime, but he does an amazing anime accent. Basically does a voice that sounds like the Yu-Gi-Oh guy or whatever, reading that whole thing out, paired with like an anime where a guy like that walks away looking all mysterious. Now what's great is I actually love to laugh at myself. I love things that are just funny in general, whether it's dark humor or not. It's just that it's so rarely actually funny or clever when other people do it. It's more like, this is a bad guy. Like, what's the joke? What's the mechanism? Like, yeah, people who don't like the person might think that. Where's the funny thing? So this is fucking hilarious. And by the way, I know people think like, oh, but he's making fun of you. No, what's hilarious? He's making fun of the situation. I actually thought that was fucking hilarious. Even if that guy doesn't maybe like me and did think he was deriding me, I thought it looked cool as fuck. It made me into some like sick anime character. Those people who made loads of memes along the same lines. They did this one. They made it like a motivational quote. I think that looks super sick. I think even my pose there is like, begone, Peon. That's fucking amazing. Who doesn't think that's funny? How about this one? Remember, they all thought they were mocking and deriding me when they made these. I think these are bangers. I put them on my social media myself. I am esports. Like Palpatine shit. That's sick. What a fucking baller-ass character fucking Emperor Palpatine is. By the way, you do know he's the emperor of the entire galactic empire. Like, he's not really an irrelevant figure. You could, he thinks he's the empire. That would be the equivalent, by the way. Like, well, I mean, he is. Like, he's absolutely the visual, like, representation of the top of the pyramid of the empire. He is basically the empire. When he dies, the empire falls, isn't it? You haven't really even understood the joke. That's also why a lot of the jokes are just unintentionally funny. They don't actually get the premise. So when they try to meme, they actually end up making the opposite point and counter-signaling for people who like that sort of stuff, as happens with a lot of memes that come from left-wing people and become based memes, right? Now, I should probably have addressed this topic already and done a video on it. I'm actually not very good in that sense at using social media as marketing to push people to my content. Like, I'm pretty good at using social media to start conversations, to make my points, to address certain topics, to provoke certain things that I want to be discussed in the community or are a bigger deal that people are ignoring. Pretty good at taste making, introducing other things that people might be interested in. But I'm not actually that good. Thus far, I'm going to get much better. I will be much better at funneling people to my content and explaining myself in more detail. Like, it's obvious, I will do this, that I should make a video on why Fallen is the most overrated CS player in the history of CSGO. That should have been a video ages ago, right? Spoiler, if you've ever watched my work, you'd sort of know why. But that wasn't really people who watched my work who were getting mad at that, was it? So, it's not like I'm doing it though, because then people can link to this video and then say, no, I didn't mean that. Like, no, watch this thing. Because let's be real, like, it doesn't matter whether you link like that or not. You're a fan of mine or you like the video, they don't care. Like, it's not that it's going to change anyone's mind. The kind of people who were being shitty to me weren't being shitty because of me, because of the things I've done. They were using that as a pretext or an excuse, as a prop, to just say whatever they wanted about men or women in esports, or maybe they just dislike me generally, and that was just a way to get at me, and a vector, a vehicle of attack, right? So what I would say is this: I think this is just a topic worth exploring and restating, and you'll see what I mean, and how a lot of people could say I am esports, and always could have. I never implied otherwise. So in case anyone wonders, like, oh, is he going to peel it back? Is he going to, like, tone it down a little bit? Is he going to basically admit he isn't esports? Like, he has to admit he isn't esports. No, understand. I am esports, but we'll get to that. So the background of that particular tweet, you have to actually know the story of what was going on before the tweet happened, right? Which is ESL had already announced that they were going to do this league. It's since become the ESL Impact League. Initially, that was all GG for all thing. And basically, it was announced they were going to do a women's, a female. Ooh, can you say that? By the way, never get trapped by that. You can say male and female. You can say women and man. I mean, the joke is there's a world where they might not want to be called those things. That's a separate discussion entirely, not what I'm interested in having. Now, this eventually became the ESL Impact League. It's since been running. They've had tournaments already. Now, what happened was when this was announced, Semler, a long-time legendary Counter-Strike commentator who knows many, many pro women. He's even worked women's events, I think, and done commentary on those games. He's known tons of them. He's helped stream with them. He's played with them. He's known tons and tons of the women who were in exactly this league and played in leagues like this, and are women in the industry who've worked in the industry, and he's worked with them. He's got tons of colleagues like that. He decided to come out and, oh my goodness, you know what, guys? Here's a little tip for you. Have you noticed how in the modern day, everyone demands all these rights? Like, they have the right to things that aren't even rights. Like, I have the right to never be offended, to feel comfortable. Like, I have the right to play professionally in my own league that's just made for people like me. They want all these rights. But have you noticed, someone like Semler shouldn't even have the right to an opinion about that. Not even that he's doing something or blocking that, or he has a right to something that actually makes that not work anymore. Doesn't he have the right to an opinion? The right to respect? The right to people to try and actually understand? No, you don't. And by the way, you do have the right to an opinion within certain metrics. But the point here is, just kind of shows where their hierarchy of values is, doesn't it? Semler came out, and the gist of the point he was making was this. Like, if you're going to build the whole league, which they did, this was actually in the marketing text on the main website, the notion was that because women face so much toxicity, which is a male problem, it was implied, they have to have their own professional CSGO league with loads of money and tournaments and lands and a whole circuit, as though the two were somehow connected. Like, the notion is, because, like, in this, the premise would be the average woman is playing and people hear on the mic, like, shut up, bitch, or something. Or hear people see a name like a woman, or see that she's playing in a certain way, playing support character maybe, and go, oh, what are you, stupid woman? Or, get out, get no women in here, like the high speed clip or whatever the fuck that guy was called. So the premise goes that because that happens, step 2, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Step 4, women need their own professional CSGO league. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Step 6, equality is achieved. Women get to be amazing professionals, experience no toxicity, and the world's, kind of a utopian paradise. And Semler's point was, like, there's no mechanism here for how that would work, or you're not even really addressing the problem you claims there, even if the problem did indeed exist. This is just essentially an excuse to get this big league, and then if people say, well, why does this league exist? Instead of giving the good reasons, like, you know what, women maybe need their own place to play. They maybe need a place away from men. They need somewhere that there's a different type of vibe, a different type of competition. Maybe just because you like women and you'd like to see women play, or you are a woman and you'd like to play. These are all valid reasons. But instead of doing that, people just went to the old toxicity angle. And so Semler was basically pointing out, like, I mean, that's nonsense. I mean, he would know. He's been around the scene for such a long time. He's known the women who play in these things. He had these discussions we all have for like decades at this point in time. I was having these discussions with people back in CS 1.6, the Miss Harveys of the world. Yeah, like 15 years ago, guys. Years and years and years and years and years ago. I used to work for a team where I would go to events and interview people like Miss Harvey who played on our female team in SK Gaming. I'm very aware of these tournaments, but this was all presented to the mainstream who don't know about this as though it was like the first time it's ever happened, and as though like the idea of women's esports was what was happening. And what people did was they took Semler, they ignored all his points, they mobbed him en masse with thousands of shitty messages and tags and everything that you could imagine. They slandered him as some sort of like a misogynist, a piece of shit, a guy who hates women. In fact, he hates women so much, he can't even stand the idea they would ever be allowed to experience playing the game. They could ever be a professional. He despises it. That's what they tried to imply. They miscast him in that way, and they mocked him horrendously. Exactly, by the way, you'll notice all the behaviours that they would complain about if it was done to women. That's just an obvious hypocrisy on their behalf, right? And like I say, mainstream people just mobbed in, and this became just an issue of like, should women exist in gaming or something, which was never ever what was said. Now, Semler had the audacity, how could he do it when they're all to make a joke? Like he said, when's the male-only tournament? Because the joke is, there are no male-only tournaments. Every single tournament, as far as I'm aware, in the history of esports, except female-only tournaments, is open to women to compete in. And if they were the best, they could win the tournament, they could place highly in the tournament, they could qualify for that. I've never heard of a single tournament otherwise. Meanwhile, there are women's tournaments that only women can compete in, separate topic for the exceptions. And obviously, in that scenario, men cannot compete in those scenarios. So actually his point was a joke, and it was poking fun at the obvious ridiculousness of the premise, and he was making the point that, like, not only does this already exist, but that's not really even the issue you're addressing there, right? It wasn't pure toxicity keeping women out of being really good at esports games. There's very few of them. Very few have ever tried to compete, and thus far, very few of them have ever come anywhere close to being good enough at the game, for whatever reasons, to ever warrant professional contract or playing in a top league. I've done millions of videos about these topics. Maybe I'll link one here, link another one there, or something. I'll put a few in the description box, actually. That's probably the easiest way to do it. So back then, I had a different approach to social media. I've changed it a little bit in the last month or so. I used to just get involved in those kinds of battles and state my opinion on any topic I wanted in anywhere I wanted. And I used to check all the replies. And when I would read things that were horrible and hurt my feelings, or attacking me in stupid ways, or saying illogical things about me, or just riding me in general sense, I would get into a feedback loop, and I would lash out, and I would say things back, and I would tweet off whenever the fuck I felt like it, quite frankly, because that's who I was and who I wanted to be in the world. That's who I wanted to be. That's probably a little bit of a stretch there. I could probably go into a whole thing where I go to a therapist's couch and explain to you what was going on, but I'm not going to do that. It's not this type of video. So back then, since I was into all that stuff, if I ever see anyone who I consider a friend, a colleague, just being attacked senselessly, people saying ridiculous things about them, I don't just sit by and go, that sucks, or message them privately, sorry bro, you're going through it. I just go, you know what, fuck it, let me get my sword. I'll ride out in a battle with them. I'll go into the fray and help my mate and go back to back with them until we fought off these fucking demons and he's safe. He feels like he's got someone who's got his back, who will support him, who is going to come forward and say, you know what, all this hate you're taking, I'll have some of it as well then. Come on, you cunts. Come after someone your own size. That's what I was doing when I did that. Now, it actually turns out, ironically, that Semler was handling it way better than I was. He's in a different place in his life at the time. And actually, he has sort of like a really balanced, like, sort of even-keeled approach to that, where it wasn't getting to him too much. It maybe did the first day or two, and he did a few tweets back, but he was actually trying even to, like, bring some of these people on his shows, or, like, have discourse with them. Like, I was amazed at how fair-minded he was. Like, some of these people did not deserve it, by the way. They were not attempting good faith arguments. They were not trying to have discourse with him. They were basically saying, like, I'm just going to say everything under the sun about you, every possible horrible lie, and if you don't engage with that and dignify that with a response and validate that that's a reasonable argument, an initial starting position, then I won't allow you to, like, negotiate some freedom and the fact that maybe you aren't a total misogynist and you might have a point. Like, I'll never engage with that sort of behavior, but believe it or not, he was willing to. He even thought this is such an important topic. Fuck it, I will. Like, I'll ignore sort of the slings and arrows and I'll just try and get involved in it. And he even did some stuff on his stream. I don't know if those VODs are still up. I think he maybe deletes the VODs. I'm not sure. So then the issue is, because I get in the feedback loop as well, and I don't go away from Twitter, or I didn't back then the eye of the storm centered around me, and I became viral for many days. I'm going to say, what, a week and a half. It was going mental. Like, it was over Christmas. It was into the beginning of the new year. Now, look, this isn't going to be a Richard video where I show you the thousands and thousands and thousands of shitty tweets and things said about me and lies and people just making up stories and taking things I've said and intentionally missing. I'm not going to do any of that stuff, but it was beyond a joke. Like, I can tell you right now, people will tell you you've got 10k followers, 20k followers, 50k followers who don't say stuff on the internet, who've never been in the they go, it's just consequences. What they're trying to do is justify it all and say it's exactly what you do deserve and what you should get. That's what they're trying to imply. I can tell you right now, nobody can handle that. Reading all those replies and seeing that much horrible stuff about yourself. Twitter doesn't scale in a linear fashion. I'll tell you right now, I used to think when I had 20k followers, they blocked me, guess he doesn't have a response, guys. He's proving me. I used to think all the same things because I was going through the process till I got to the point I am now. I can tell you, Twitter doesn't scale in a linear fashion. Nobody should know what that many people think about them or of them. Nobody should become a scapegoat for everyone's frustrations, everyone's anger, everyone's hate. Not even about you necessarily, or the thing you've said, but maybe only about you, not the thing you said. Or maybe just about men, or men they think are like you, or a man they knew that you're now a placeholder for, and they're attacking as a way to get back and to vent what happened to them. And in this scenario, yeah, you end up with the most heinous shit coming your way because you made a statement, because you've addressed something, because you made a joke. And then obviously you have all the losers who play the old silly blocked game, don't they, where they just go like, he's blocked me, so obviously I must be right. Wow, he's blocked me and I'm a woman. That means he just blocks anyone with a woman. You know, anyone with a vagina, anyone with XX chromosomes, he just blocks them straight the wood. Like, we're doing all that stuff. By the way, that's why you'll see the way my tweets were. This is all the behaviour that was coming my way, and I was characterising and throwing back out to say, hey, look at this. Let's hold a mirror up to you guys and see what's going on. So this culminated in a sequence where I was high as fuck, reading all this shit. Still reading it, sadly. Now, look, that's not the point. It's not even an excuse. I thought, I was high. No, I was high, and I thought, I'm going to make this funny. Fuck this shit. And basically, here's the thread. So it started, and what I did was I took, after seeing thousands of these threads of comments and tweets from all walks of life and the mainstream and casual gaming, and then this part of esports and this part of esports, and esports I've never even been in, and people I've seen there, and people from the past who didn't like me, people who just now don't like me, people who used to be on the middle of the fence, people who used to like, everyone had to give their comment on this particular topic, right? Even though the same people were like, wow, can't you just let women be in esports and have like a tournament without having to comment on it? Can't you just let me be in esports and continue my amazing career with the most prodigious epic content of all time without having a comment on me? No, you can't. So you know what? Bit of a hypocritical statement, isn't it? So I made this comment, a set of chain here where I was holding up a mirror to these people. And these are all things. They are not exaggerated. I'm not using it even for hyperbole in most cases. These are real things that were being sent my way by people I've never spoken to, never met. Some outrageous people that were just coming in going, oh, he must hate women. The joke is they hate men. They hate men like me. They think they know who I am and they think they hate people like. So they were just expressing their hate, weren't they? So I put ESL, this summarises the whole topic, by the way. Since men are so bad and toxic, we made a league only for women. Not because women can't compete with men right now. Semler, this is what Semler's response was, seems disingenuous to make it about toxicity when that's not the context of why you're hosting this competitive circuit. Pretty reasonable point, really. Very valid point. It actually starts quite an interesting discussion about what ESL is doing. Are they even being cynical, exploiting women as a way to sort of market something particularly? Could have all sorts of interesting discussions about that, couldn't we? And now I made it a chain. So I put women in esports. Now, I will tell you, this is a little something I've noticed about how some women online, their psychology works. If you say women, they don't take that as like it's the most intentional generalization. This is just what my experience of women has been in this particular respect. They go, he's talking about all women. He's talking about exactly me. He's talking about any woman I choose and visualize in my mind. And that's exactly what he means. But he says every woman in esports. No, I just put women in esports. So just some women in esports is what they're saying. And you could put some. No, it would destroy not only Twitter with its character limit, but it would also destroy any conversation to have to fill it with disclaimers like that all the time. And spoiler, they don't do that at all. You know, the same people who go, you must address me this way and not hurt my feelings about this thing, and you must let me identify this way. And then they constantly never ask you what you think, never ask you what your feelings are, never ask you how you want to be addressed, mischaracterize you, say the most heinous things about you, spread all kinds of lies about you, gaslight you. They don't care about that. It's about power games. That's what these social dynamics are. It's a mixture of social dynamics, power dynamics, and sexual marketplace. If you understand these principles, you will know what's at work here. It is not about the opinions being expressed. So I put women in esports. Boo-hoo! Poor white man feels oppressed. You that mad that women get to play in a tournament? You get no pussy. This is exactly what women were actually saying to me. I could show you the tweets right now. My entire career is based on my credibility and integrity. I don't need to make it a video, like I said, like a Richard video where he would show you the evidence, because I know it doesn't change anyone's minds. It doesn't matter. And I actually don't want to necessarily provide that kind of entertainment for my audience anymore. I'm kind of past that. I want to get on with being an esports historian again. So then I put where I weighed in, as they were saying all that shit to Semler, by the way. Thorin, don't dismiss an opinion from an industry veteran with connections and relationships with women for countless years. Women in esports, if you're not a woman, you can't have an opinion on this. Besides, you're a fucking white male. That was also the response I was getting. Do you know how many people were like, well, how could you possibly have any information or be at all informed when you aren't a woman? It's like, what an insane position to have. Doesn't mean he knows a woman's experience, but he has known women and their experiences. And he has also himself been in scenarios where he's seen people interact with women and seen if they've said fucked up things. And he's been around tournaments and he knows how tournament circuits are run and what the dynamics of them are and whether people market them cynically and whether actually they do think toxicity is a problem or they just want to get walk points from Intel and NEK and all that sort of thing and get certain political people on their side and maybe even trick women into thinking they're the good guys like virtual signalers always do. So when you're in this scenario, they even did, by the way, for real, even keep saying like that we're men and that we're white men. So we're even going, and he's even a straight white man. Like what? All of a sudden that changes like whether or not you could know what a woman's going through. You know, the implication there, by the way, is that a gay man is a type of woman. That's what they're basically stating, which is an outrageous statement to make. I mean, also, it's just a category error, isn't it? It doesn't make any sense at all. And it absolutely devalues the concept that you're having of a person's unique experience. Not least because the same people believe there isn't even binaries in any of these sexuality identities. So them, it's a spectrum, and there even is ability to move between. So as a result, how could it be that someone on one part of the spectrum can't have experienced another part? There is no internal coherent logic to these people's ideology and philosophy. I know that, so I don't waste my time with them. This is me not tweeting at anyone, you'll notice, or under anyone. I'm tweeting to my audience, to people who follow me on Twitter, not even these millions of people out in the world. Oh, you have to watch out people that you offend. They don't even follow me on Twitter. They don't have to see my tweets. I really do not have to in the way that you're implying I do. So then I put here, this set here, and everyone's going, oh, it's deranged and unhinged. No, what's deranged and unhinged is that women were saying this to me. You can go and search, go put Thorin feminism, go put like Thorin mother, go put Thorin whore, go put like Thorin blocked me woman. Go search these things on Twitter and see what you find. See if you find any results come up. There'll be loads of them, mate. Loads of them. Some of them from people who've never heard of me before. So they were tweeting at me stuff like feminism, Thorin, and then wanted me to block them so then they could go and put a thing on their page and just go, he blocked me because I'm a feminist or because I care about women, not because they're mobbing me and tagging me and directly replying to stuff and going on videos that have nothing to do with that, and any tweet that's about CS or esports after that, replying to it, feminism, Thorin, haha, you coward, you'll block me, won't you, feminist? Like, no, I block aggressive, stupid behaviour. That's obviously what I do. So they put, block me, and then people were literally getting mad that I wasn't blocking some of them, and they were going, what did you say to get blocked? Like, I've gone really hard for the last 2 days over Christmas doing this. He still hasn't blocked me. I need my block. How do I get my block? This guy hates women and I need to be blocked. People were absolutely behaving this way. And so look, then they started for real saying stuff like this. Block me, pussy, like your mother, the whore. Oh my God, he blocked me just for being a woman and disagreeing with him. That was the game that thousands of women played over Christmas and New Year's with a man that they disagreed with and didn't understand the original comment of. That's what they thought was acceptable behaviour. That's why, if you notice, I didn't even tweet to outtake some of the actual crazy shit they were telling me. That you're like a fragile little white incel that'll never have fucking sex and be loved. I wish I could meet your dad so he could create a child that could ever be worth loving and be. There was people doing that. So I'll take their tweet and I'll quote to it and say it's terrible the way that women get spoken to in esports as a way to sort of hold up the mirror and poke fun. And people were even replying to that going like, oh, it's just cherry picked the wrong example. No one's even, no, people would actually go, no one's even saying that to you. It's like, holy moly. So yeah, it's mental. It's actually mental, mate. So then I put at the bottom here, wonder why only cynical marketers and future sex offender male feminists want to help you gals. Again, not all women. These women who are being horrible like that. And you can't seem to get the most talented and prolific individuals in this industry to engage with you or your initiatives. By the way, I'm not just talking about myself. You would want someone like Semler. If you actually came to Semler with the right offer, maybe not now, he would probably commentate this league like his other duo partner Anders does for ESL. If you came along and you said, let's have a discussion on your channel about this topic, because some men don't get it and they think that it's just the same for women as men, and they don't understand like how specific gendered abuse can be, or how people are treated when they're a nobody. And yeah, they have their own experiences where they're going to say, like, no, but I get told I'm shit all the time. But they don't understand specifically for us what it's like and why we might feel uncomfortable in a scenario where maybe they embrace it and they think, oh, it's just part of being a man, like, man up, brother. You could have all those great discussions. I've had them. I've had loads of them on my channel. I've done it with loads of women that were in esports. Again, I'll put all the stuff in the description box below. So as you can imagine, people kept treating that as though it was like, oh, he's saying that Johnny him who can do anything and women can't do anything in this. No, I just said it's weird, isn't it? It's weird that that's the way it was going. So this culminated. So that then led to the first tweet, which you'll see, was a reply. Look at that little chain thing at the top there. The last one said, tell you what, you do that cute thing where you tell me to get out of the industry. Loads of people were telling me to get out of the industry. You're saying you're not even in the industry. You're irrelevant. You'll never be hired again. You're nobody. And that I built and rests on my shoulders. I am esports, since you can't kick me out. Be gone, Peon. The Peon's obviously just intentional hyperbole. I'm being silly there, Anna. I'm playing into the Thorin character as it was. So let's go over that. People telling me to get out of the industry, right? Spoiler, it's not like I joined the industry by invitation. I was never gifted or given anything to be able to be in the position I'm in this industry. I fought and I worked and I tirelessly improved as a human, as a man, as a journalist, as an analyst and a commentator, as a content creator, as a boss, as a friend, as a colleague. I had to do all these things. I had to learn all these different games, these different areas of business and politics and law and all these things together. And I had to learn how to be an in-game leader and a manager and a coach and all these different areas I had to start getting up to speed on to be able to do what I did and then make entertaining and compelling content that people chose to click for selfish reasons. Not to support me, not because I approve of what he said, just because the content was so fucking fire they had to watch it. That's the same as my tweets. They don't have to like me. The reason they complain about being blocked is they want to see what I tweeted. They want the chance to engage with it. They want to see what their friends are all talking about because it's so relevant. That's what I was able to accomplish. Now, understand, yeah, I overcame all these challenges and I won and lost battles and endured a million fucking wars against anyone and everyone. And I fought on the side of some wars with some people and I fought against the same people in the next wars. Some of them are my enemy now. Some of them were my friends before. Some of them my enemies before. Some of them are my friends now. But this isn't a sob story. That's simply the background of my career. I don't believe in being a victim out of choice. Certain times you're a victim because someone's making you one. You don't have to choose to be one though. If you have the choice, I would say don't do it. I think it's a terrible mindset. It's a scarcity mindset. I have an abundance mindset. I am going to succeed. I am a success. Nothing can stop me. Nothing ever will stop me. I will never relent unless I decide I want to relent. Unless I decide I want to quit. Unless I decide to leave this industry. And I am leaving the industry. But not in the way you think, because I'm not leaving esports. I'm making my own industry, Last Free Nation. Now, obviously, people are trying to tell me, because I made the esports tweet about I am esports and I built the industry, people who were notable people in the industry were telling me I'm not in the industry. I'm not even a part of the industry. And that is a joke of a premise. Again, if you had to make a list of people who are the esports industry, if it was a sane list where you're giving credit to people, no matter what you think, I would easily make this list. I would make the top 10, top 50, top 100, whatever number you want to make it. I would be one of the first people. I would be one of the most significant non-players. I would be someone you would select. You can disagree. I don't particularly care. And I allow you the right to disagree if you'd like to. I am esports because of what I've done and what I continue to do. I've always loved that Aristotle misquote, apart from someone else, don't care though, the gist of it's fire, about excellence is a habit, therefore we are what we continually do. So I am esports because to this day, I am the esports historian. I am esports history. I am esports. Now, when I say I built the industry, nowhere did I imply I built it alone. Nor is it even an obvious assumption of what I've said? Remember, I was saying it in response to people telling me, get out the industry. It's like, I built the industry. I am the industry. I am esports. How am I going to get out of esports? How am I going to get out of the industry? Like, I choose to be in this place. That's why you heard of me, why you will hear of me, and why you will never be able to ignore me. Why I'm an irresistible force in terms of my opinions and my content and my work. And people will always keep working with me. And because of those very reasons, because on some level, the legit ones always censor, no matter what people say and how they try and coerce you and how they try and smear your name and libel and slander you. It doesn't matter. I have a force that overcomes that, a creative power. That's just you try and develop it yourself and tap into it. It'll do you very, very well in life. I'll tell you that much right now. Now, esports to me is a living collective of people, projects, and accomplishments. Many and most are obviously not me or made by me, but in my areas, I built an enormous amount of that. Esports history didn't exist when I began, and nobody cared about it. Even when I did the initial esports history, people were like, "Who really? It's not really any. Why is the esports history? It's only been around a few years. We'll wait like 20 years for this." The joke is, there still largely doesn't exist esports history. Where are all the other esports historians, the famous ones that you care about and don't say edgy things and therefore you like them? Exactly. There are fuck all. There's a few people struggling, and the joke is I promote them. You see, I promote them, so you crush them too, and you smear them too, and you make sure they get labelled, don't you? Because that's who the esports industry is, not the part I am. So then how about this? We have all those Wikipedias, right? Oh, why do we need you in an esports stuff? We got all those Wikipedias. They only came along in the 2010s, you fucking idiots. And even then, some of the results they have on there were copied from my work. When I worked at SK Gaming, I manually entered thousands, not only of news posts, but thousands and thousands of individual match results by hand, all myself as the editor-in-chief. I did the vast majority of the work on that website when I worked there for 2.5 years. Everyone else who's an editor-in-chief delegates it all, has people below them. That was never my style. I was always the star player. I was always a scoring point guard. I was Isaiah Thomas. I was Deron Williams. I was Steph Curry. That's always been my style. And so that's what I did. I did all that. So then, you know what? You'd have all these people who did make those Wikipedias, who founded those Wikipedias, who put the info on those Wikipedias, who came to me directly for help and for guidance and to promote the sites. There's people who work for those Wikipedias and have put loads of stuff in who will tell you they got some of the stuff from reading my work. They came to me and learned about esports history through my work, engaging with my work, asking me questions, sometimes asking for corrections. I would even sometimes reach out and tell them this needs a correction here. Similarly, those esports earning guys with all the money in the prize money, yeah, those guys, I've reached out to them. They've reached out to me. I've corrected them. Actually, this part's wrong here. You seem to be missing something on here. Here's some research I had. They've also been in a position where they benefited from my work. You're thinking you could just go there and get that. How could you when I'm part of the genesis point of it? When I'm one of the ones generating the stuff that they based it on. Think it through. You don't know the esports industry. You are not esports if you're saying that. You're actually counter-signaling that you don't know the space. You're a fool. You're like telling Richard Dawkins, like, you aren't anything to do with evolutionary theory. You don't even know you're a bloody meme is what you are. It's like, if you know what I'm talking about, I won't explain the reference. That would be an insane counter signal that you don't know what you're talking about evolution or memes. Go look it up. So it's not even that simply there's just esports history that I am. There's an oral history to esports that doesn't exist without me. I was there. I didn't just watch the game later or read it on a Wikipedia score page. I knew the pros in question, what they thought of other people, who they respected, who they didn't, who they wanted in their teams, who they didn't get in their teams, what teams they tried to join but didn't join, what happened behind the scenes. Someone didn't get kicked because he was bad. He had to fight with a teammate. Which League of Legends pros got the same STD from the same girl at some LEC/EULCS after party? Which ones, eh? You don't know. I do, whether I said it publicly or not. I know the context of the matches and the metas and what was going on politically within esports at the time and who was worth what sort of money and on what sort of money and could have gone out. I know all that shit. And that stuff isn't shown on Wikipedia, isn't shown on Wikipedia, Gamepedia, isn't shown on any pedia or any wiki in this fucking world. Is it, homie? Nobody has produced more content and of the quality that I have in my career. I did this tweet a few years ago where it was in July of 2019, so years ago now, and I said, when people would say to me, all you do is tweet stupid shit to get money. By the way, you don't make money from the tweets. Like, I don't know what you again, you counter signaling that you don't understand Twitter and social media. And I got Twitter in 2009. That's when I got it. And since then, all I've done is tweets. And 2,000 news posts, 1,400 videos, 450 articles, 64 events as an analyst, 30 events as a journalist. These are all attended, that means. 4 events as a colour commentator. I did that in CS 1.6. What have you done? Pretty good question, right? And by the way, that's in 2019. That would be an insane one if I updated it now. Like, if people don't know, just this series, Thorin's Thoughts, solo videos of me giving my thoughts, I have done 1,100, and this will be the 64th video in that series. People might know I had a streak of over 100, like 110 or 115 days of doing a video a day. That's actually incorrectly explained. It wasn't a video a day. I was doing loads of other talk shows, like interviews, fucking other content, like Thorin vs. Reddit, blogs and stuff. That was just Thorin's Thoughts videos. I did one per day for over 100 plus days. For my Reflections interview series, I am up to 224 episodes, and that's not even just my only interview series or the only one I've ever done in that kind of a vein. If you go and look at what some industry veterans have said, how about Red Eye, a very well-respected, legendary OG Hall of Famer in esports, Paul Challoner? He said in 2019, Thorin is the hardest working journalist in esports, and he should know, by the way. Writing, blogs, podcasts, videos, talks, TV/stream roles, the amount of content he creates is unbelievable. And for a guy coming up to 2 decades doing it, a great role model for the newer generation of journalists. By the way, I would even say Red Eye's just an acquaintance of mine. We're on more friendly terms later in our careers because we respect each other, we've worked together. This is the guy, if you don't know, who didn't used to fuck me back in the day. He is the guy who fired me from that EMS 1 Katowice event and wrote the statement that actually marred and followed my career for many years since. But he's writing this in 2019, 5 years later. Then how about DJ Wheat, the OG legend of shoutcasting, along, by the way, with some of the people who came later, like Warwick and later Joe Miller and Too Good and all these people you all know. This was the shoutcaster back in the day, when it was even called shoutcasting, because he was using the Winamp Shoutcast plugin. He wasn't on some stream. You had to sync it up with the game or get a demo and put it behind if you got lucky and someone recorded it and put it on ES Reality, the new version of XS Reality. In 2020, DJ Wheat says, after I said something like, oh, check out like DJ Wheat's new series. He did an episode with Thresh. I hadn't even watched the whole thing at the time. He put, it's pretty surreal to team up with someone 24 years later who was already a legend when I was just starting my broadcast career/hobby. He's talking about Thresh here. Basically, the original Michael Jordan type individual one-on-one sport king of esports in the 90s and basically just the end of the 90s. Actually works in esports still in a different capacity. He put, and that's even who they named the League of Legends champion after, if you don't know. Thresh is someone I looked up to and played a big part in my esports beliefs. Oh, I think he was replying to his own content about this. In my esports beliefs, because he was showcasing the early potential of esports. So I reply, because I've always liked Wheat in the latter years, also a guy who didn't like me before. That'll come up again. I put, he will always be a Mount Rushmore level dude for me. I used to watch his demos in awe that he was playing chess with those guys, and they thought it was Frisbee or something. A visionary with no exaggeration. And then Wheat replies, it's been humbling spending time with him in this capacity. I know how much he respects you because he mentions you during these episodes. I too agree he is Mount Rushmore level. So DJ Wheat, a legendary figure himself, tells me when I say I think Thresh is Mount Rushmore, he respects you and he's even mentioning you in this content, mate. The original Michael Jordan of esports. But again, guys, I'm not esports and I'm an irrelevant guy, right? That's what some of you losers think. So if you don't understand, I left my competitors in the dust, thousands of videos, articles, news posts behind. Did you know Carmack from ESL was once a rival of mine, and some people even maybe considered him better? You only know it if you've been watching my content. You've heard me mention it. Of course you don't. You think he's just a guy who works on the tournament side for ESL, right? What would he know about journalism? I am irreplaceable in this industry. In theory, if it was easy to replace me, all you'd need is a webcam, vocal cords, a mouth, the ability to breathe, and the ability to speak English. But nobody can do it, despite the fact those are the requirements. Oh, the Score Esports tried to do that and rip off my videos. And yeah, they got the hits, but they can't do it my way, can they? They can't replace my flair, my passion, the way I'd write it, the poetic little turn of phrase I'd use, the interesting nicknames I'd come up with, the oral living history, the context of the thing. They get it all wrong, don't they? DreamHack and ESL used to hire me to make cool little teasers and trailers and hype things and narrations. Now they don't bother, and they just do generic versions, and plebs like it, but the real hardcore ones, it doesn't quite hit home for them. Not like that Jensen piece I did, right? The esports industry, you got to understand, is filled to the brim with fucked up people. I was once upon a time a fucked up person. That was some of my motivations for coming in. I mean, why else would anyone in esports want to be famous, want to be the star, want to be the center of attention, want everyone else to shut up while a mic is on them and they speak and everyone else silently listens and pays attention? Because of some fucked up reasons, some baggage, some aspect, something that you've turned into a skill set. So in esports, understand this. Credit is a weapon, not a currency. It's about social control. It's about rewarding your friends. It's about punishing your enemies. It's about punishing wrongthink. So people will even say, sure, he might have done X, Y, and Z, but look at what he said. No, I'm sorry. Actions supersede words. And tons of actions supersede a few words you don't like and have intentionally misinterpreted or mischaracterized. So what happened was, people who were rivals of mine, peers of mine, people I've had beef with in the past, they all came out the woodwork scurrying out to get their little shot in and shit all over me. So you had DJ Wheat go out there, do a talk show episode where he was mocking the idea that I'm esports, mischaracterizing my statements intentionally and acting like I basically said I just built the whole industry and him and the rest of them did nothing. Even though you can see what a massive hypocrite he is. And part of that, by the way, is just beef from the reality days, just other things. He just doesn't like me in general. Probably thinks he's very politically different. Never had a conversation with me about those topics. Shitty little slasher crawled out of his hole. Oh, by the way, I've heard the reason he hadn't been tweeted for all this time is he has a whole bunch of swords of Damocles just hanging over his head that he knows at any moment can drop and fucking end him. I won't explain why, because that's never been my style, really. This is the same loser, by the way, where he was on Twitter saying I'm a harmful figure, shit, bad person, like I'm saying all these terrible things. And then I would be going to events in New York and he would attend the event and try to stalk me and was at one point literally screaming down the corridor of the Barclays Centre like, Thorin, Duncan, you can't ignore me. You can't just walk away from me. Screaming. And the security guard was just looking at him like am I going to have to fucking subdue this guy? This is the same guy who at the same time he was doing all that would be begging my mutuals, people that know both of us, to get him to talk to him, let me talk to him, to unblock him, to just look, he agrees he'll do an apology if you just talk to him and just meet him first. And like, can't we all be friends again? Can't we all interact and make it fun again on Twitter? This is a fucking loser. But he had to come out as well to try and dunk on me, didn't he? Sir Scoots, a guy I've worked with, I consider one of the legends of Counter-Strike. I will never deny his credit. He was an incredibly influential figure and can still be in esports. A true OG legend, Hall of Famer, like a bunch of the other people I've just mentioned. Oh, he called me subhuman for these tweets. He literally dehumanized me with the kind of language. Remember, I don't go on about this, but everyone else loves to go on about dangerous language and dangerous concepts and things that don't belong in esports. He essentially used the kind of language people use before they start killing people in genocides. That's the way he tried to describe me because I made these tweets onto fucking twitter.com, the free bird app. That's what it's doing to the brains and the fucking personalities and the souls of the people who work in the esports industry. So across the board, dog shit fucking response from esports, because I had the gall to defend Semler and to say that I won't just take abuse from women sitting down and say nothing about it. Yeah, exactly. And then came the clout chasers, the other terminal cancer on the esports industry. The people who came along and pretend, I'm going to make a t-shirt that just says I'm esports and give all the profits to women. Did you ever see that money, guys? Did you ever watch the tournament from that? Did any of you, anyone who retweeted that, anyone who bought the t-shirt, did you ever check back in? Of course you didn't, because it wasn't about that. It was about optics. It was about seeming to be the right person. It was about seeming to be a good person. It was about supporting the current thing TM. It was about being out there, virtue signaling away with the clout chasers, getting your engagement, dunking on people for your engagement, virtue signaling how much you love women, whether you do or not. Sometimes because you don't and you've done evil things and you're scared of a sword of Damocles hanging over you as well. And then, you know what? Here's an explanation for you of what I meant by that statement as well. Tons of other people built esports too and could say, I am esports, and I'd go, you are. In fact, I think it'd be cool if we had t-shirts and we just gave them out as a little select group and it would be legit. We'd be the only ones and we were the ones who built esports. How about people like DJ Wheat, Sir Scoots, Red Eye, Joe Miller, The Slash from SK Gaming, Alex Muller, Griff, Ralph Reichart from ESL, Carmack, Midway, BDS, Angel Munoz, Isno, Mira, Nomad, Martin and Nixon at HLTV, Richard Lewis, Mike Sepso, Sundance and Adam Apicella of MLG, Robert Olin of DreamHack, OGN and MBC Game over in South Korea, Frank Nuccio of the CPL, Scott Valencia of WSVG and CGS, Torbal, Jason Lake, Alex Scarfield, all owners, Genghis from Mouse Sports, another owner, Lauren, the famous CS admin in the 2000s from the CPLs, Grey Khan and Hellspawn of Rakaka, the Fragbite people, the Readmore.de people from Germany, the Gauzy, the demo admin of SK Gaming and So Gamed, Artosis, Tasteless, Lil Susie, Monte Cristo. The list goes on and on and on, and they're mainly just old school people. I could list like another 200 people or modern day people in the last 10 years have done amazing things and are esports. We all built esports. We are all esports. That is the point. There are people who are esports and there are people who just enjoyed esports and looked from the outside and said, get out of my industry. No, homie, it's my industry. You get the fuck out of my industry. That's the way this works. And the fact that my own industry people and colleagues couldn't recognize that shows why the esports industry will always be a piss ant industry, sucking at the teat of the most evil fucking people in the world, accepting the dirtiest money in the world, because these are people who have no standards, who have no sense of loyalty, who don't think of this is something brilliant we built. They think of it just as a hustle and a grind, and they got through the bad days, and now it's time for the money in the gravy train, and let's not rock the boat, and let's say all the right things and get all that dirty, filthy money. Let's get all that blood money. Let's get the money from genocide and people who absolutely abuse and mistreat women. Let's get money from people who are slave drivers. Let's get money from pimps and drug lords. Let's get it all invested and money laundered through this fucking industry, and let's sports wash. Let's get them all to come in and let's make their image better rather than forcing them to become better people to work and engage with us. Let's say we'll use the little bit of credibility and social cachet we have to make your evil empire seem good and seem like a good thing, and the empire was right.jpg. Let's do all that, shall we? Let's do some of that. So some of these people are going to come out and suggest I didn't build esports, and I am not esports. Understand, guys, this has been my whole career in esports. Again, not to complain, to make you aware. You won't see it because of my success and because of the battles I've won. You won't know that I was always an outsider, that I was always a foreigner, that I was always disrespected, discredited. I never won awards from Turtle and ESL. They didn't even nominate me. I had people who worked at head people at Gotfrag, where when I wrote guides with top professional players who were personal friends of the people who owned and ran those websites, they intentionally wouldn't promote those guides just on the off chance. Obviously, I would make my cut, wouldn't I? Even though their friend would get rich and get money from it, they wouldn't do it. ESEA, allegedly, stole millions of potential dollars from me over a petty beef. I was routinely mocked when I went to events because I was too hardworking and too intense. I looked weird. I didn't care about my image. I didn't care about small talk and being like, look, these are things I've changed since then. But that was the way I was. Even pros were like that. It's all right, guys. Don't worry. At the time, I'm fine with it. I was doing what I loved. Since then, I've managed to get all the interviews I've ever wanted. They all come around years later. They all get it eventually. And by the way, so do I get it now. I would even say don't do things certainly the way I necessarily did them. There's only one me, and I wouldn't just try to copy me. I only just got away with it, didn't I? I only won that Esports Award in 2017 because I had blown up so much as a figure and a personality, and especially because of the credibility of who I am and the integrity of who I am and how much work I've done, that I actually give sort of an honour and respect to the award that after Richard Lewis, I won it. In the same way as Jacob Wolf had to win it later, and someone like DK should have won it, and Lewis Mira should have won it, and finally people like Kevin Hitt have won it, and some of the other legit people out there. So absolutely, that wasn't a scenario where like, oh, they gave you it because they like you now. Like, no, maybe some people pretended to, or it made them money to suggest as much. So understand this, guys. I will never be in a Hall of Fame. I will never get a Lifetime Achievement Award. If they were going in order, I'd have had those already. I would have won them years and years ago. It will be intentionally denied me to spite me, to pretend I am nobody, because I've already been passed over. They've already started past the legends and onto the woke people and the certain quotas that they want to fill, and that's also fine. I never did any of it for their validation. I said as much in the award speech when I won. Now, people will try to deny me my credit, but you know what? As I've already shown in this video, that is the opposite of who I am. I have proven as much with my actions. I will always give credit to people like Sir Scoots, Carmack, Torble, Slasher, people who have done and said dreadful things about me to try and maliciously, intentionally harm my career and my livelihood, my dream job. But I'll never deny them their credit and the accomplishments that they hard fought for and won in this industry. And then people obviously are going to do the classic one. They're going to say, you're irrelevant, right? I'll probably do a video about my Twitter one day, because you know what, homie? I can go viral anytime I want, not by addressing a thing over here and tagging myself in and being the top comment, not by doing a hashtag, not by like seeing a meme someone else doesn't copy. I can do original tweets that go viral anytime I want to. I'll show you my analytics for the month of May. Remember, guys, it was end of December 2021 when I was irrelevant and my career had ended, career suicide. I'm never going to be heard from again. Why in May do I have 46.4 million Twitter impressions? Why does my top tweet have 3.9 million impressions? Why is a mention about me from one of the most legendary Counter-Strike in-game leaders of all time, both games, 1.6 and CSGO included, Zeus, have 110k engagements with it? Why is my profile being visited 40 million times? Why was I mentioned 52,000 times? All off 1,000 tweets on a 200k follower account. I'm not on some million accounts, right? Exactly. I'm anything but irrelevant. And the fact that everyone says I'm irrelevant just shows as much, doesn't it? So let's bring it all back to the original premise that started this all. That ESL said about how women were being treated unfairly and having shitty behavior from men, right? That was what it was all about. That people refused to listen to them and process their arguments and give them the time of day and the benefit of the doubt. Because after all, they're women, right? They're sacred creatures. I agree they are, actually, by the way. But that's the way somebody who thinks, like, it's just equality. That's the way they would make fun of it, right? They are actually. They're very special in a way that men aren't. That's just a fact of reality. I would say it's actually a fucking feature of culture, not a bug. It's just misused by these nefarious people. So when you say all those things, I showed you that these people did just the same and more to me, and I've never done that to any of these people. One of the reasons, by the way, that I don't have an issue with female tournaments and never really have is because I actually know the way the industry works, that money comes from separate budgets. It comes for woke reasons. It comes from people who care about women and want to support those things. It comes sometimes from women who work at these companies. And so you know what? I also know, by the way, as an aside, right now it's the only way they can compete and have big tournaments and have big lands and have the camera attention and stuff. They're not going to get it if they try entering the other tournaments, not the male tournaments, the other tournaments, the ones that make up esports largely. By the way, it's the same argument as to why you should have NA-only tournaments in esports where NA isn't good enough, but they have the funding, or any kind of region locking. It's the same argument within male esports, just esports, that people don't understand. That's why I always argue against the men who just go, take that money out of the ESL Impact League and just put it in another IEM for men. Like, you've missed the whole thing. It never was for men. That isn't the budget it was coming from. If it doesn't exist as a female league, it just won't exist. You've missed the whole point. You're just trying to cancel something that would not exist otherwise. It wouldn't benefit what you want. You don't know the industry. I've made that point so many times because you'll see in the description box, I have made so much content about these topics, hailed at the time as some of the best and most fair in the industry, many of them with women, with their perspectives, many of them informed by women from doing research and interviews. I have also repeatedly made the point, so I don't want to hear it, and neither, by the way, do some of these other people, that like, but then you're suggesting they're not getting any shitty treatment and it never happens to... No, I've never said that. I've always said, actually, from knowing women in esports and observing it myself, they get shitty treatment in a different way to men. And in some areas they get more and in some areas they get less. And actually, I think the psyop is to get both sides to go, it's only us. No, it's only men and they get it all to, and then, the extreme over here. No, what you want to be able to have is we're all in this together. So how are we getting different problems and how can we make it better for everyone? That's the real approach you'd want to take, right? You'd want to talk to each other. You want to have real discourse. You'd want to actually make that dreaded term that they misuse, progress. You'd actually want to make the esports industry move forwards, as my work has done repeatedly and will continue to the extent I continue to do it. But now the industry isn't about that. Now the industry is just about optics, and so my enemies will paint me as a woman hater, and casuals will come in and they'll see this character that's been created by others and they'll say, that's someone I can hate, that's someone I can pour my vitriol out on, that's someone who deserves my hate. My hate is justified and I will express it towards them. Spoiler, that's what men who are shitty to women in video games are doing. They're expressing their shitty problems in life and frustrations. Their bosses be on their arse, some woman was a bit of a Karen to them, they maybe some girlfriend that they had, it didn't work out, and you think, this fucking bitch, and he thinks you're so entitled. And they're expressing that hatred when they just see a woman. They just see someone with a name like that. They hear a woman go, hey, guys, come on, like, I'm top fragging, like, can you just help out? And they're like, how dare you fucking say that? That's what they're doing. They're doing the same thing. We're all doing the same thing in that scenario. I'm not particularly, although I'm certainly expressing my frustrations when people hate on me, and that's why my tweets come out that way. Yeah, absolutely. The trick that these people use is to invent the right type of character. They almost focus group this, and the qualities that they think will trigger in the other person the feeling they have towards me or towards my opinions or to people like me or people with opinions like that. Notice how dodgy it already gets when you're out in the weeds of those fucking categories and definitions and demographics. Nobody you'll notice ever just comes out and says, I'm sorry, actually, I was wrong about that. That was it. I recant what I said. I apologize. I retract my position. Nobody ever does that. You know why? Because it was never about you or about me. It was about how they feel about that topic, about those kinds of people, about that in general. It was never about you, even though they used you as the prop, even though they used that as the cudgel to smash your fucking head in, and then go, he likes it, he likes being abused by us, fragile little loser. The same exact kind of shitty behaviour they claim doesn't belong in esports and that they decry. So understand this, everyone watching this video. I am esports. I always will be. I built this industry. I continue to build it. Whether I leave or I stop, these will all be the case. And this will now be a meme that I will embrace and steer to my own ends. And I will get more money from it. I will get the kind of attention I want from it. And I will produce the work and become the kind of legend I already am and will furthermore become as long as I want, because I am esports. This video was kindly supported by Ahmed Hadjou, Hades GOUD, Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Adam Ochs, Animosity, Bot Pounder 420, Jensen Goh, Kovacevicd, Ord, Pacy, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Toucan, and as always, a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Would you like to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Would you like to ask a question in one of those monthly AMAs where sometimes I roast people? Do you want teasers to find out who the guests are for upcoming shows and interviews I'm doing? Maybe you want to be part of one of those cool, lengthy esports discussions that I have. Well, if any of those perks sound tantalizing to you, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today, where? Via the Patreon link in the description box below.